So welcome back to the online classes, class 10. Let's continue our geography. We are doing conservation of wildlife and animals, and we are talking about India. So forest and wildlife resources, and we have reached conservation of flora and fauna in India, plants and animals. Why there is a need to conserve them? In order to for our own survival, we need plants and animals. They maintain ecosystem. Ecological balance has to be maintained, otherwise our own lives will be at stake. So now here, number one, due to rapid decline, rapid means quick, fast, decline, reduction in wildlife and forestry, the forest they are getting disappeared. The forests are being disappeared. Wildlife they are being killed. Most of the wildlife and forest have been disappeared from India. So as the world is getting modernized, as the country is getting modernized, it had a negative effect towards plants and animals. So due to rapid decline in wildlife and forestry, conservation has become essential. Conservation has become very, very essential, very important for our own survival. We need them. So conservation preserve means to keep, maintain. Conservation preserve the ecological diversity. You can see that ecological diversity has to be maintained. Ecological diversity and our life support system. Ecological diversity and our own life support system has to be maintained. If all the plants are cut down, all the trees are cut down, the land becomes dry and there will be a scarcity of water. Without water, life will be at stake. So similarly, our life support system like soil, air, water, they are the components which we require in order to survive. The forest purify the air that we breathe. The soil we grow crops has to be saved, has to conserve the soil. It is done by plants. If plants are cut down, the erosion takes place. Good soil will be washed out. So in a poor soil, where the soil is very poor, you cannot grow food crops to feed the growing population. You see that conservation preserves the ecological diversity, not only that, and our life support systems such as air, water, soil. It also preserves the genetic diversity. Conservation also preserve, save, maintain the genetic diversity of plants and animals for better growth of species. So we need them, we need to conserve them. So we must be very, very thoughtful. In order to survive on this earth, we need to preserve them. We cannot go on thoughtlessly cutting down all the trees and killing all the animals, because they are part of the ecosystem. Once the ecosystem is destroyed, our life will be in danger. So you see that plants and animals, for better growth of species, conservation is also required. Number two, in 1960s and 70s, conservationists demanded a national wildlife protection program, because most of the wildlife animals were being killed. So the environmentalists demanded that wildlife protection should be done. It should be, certain rules have to be made in order to protect the wildlife, because in the forest, plants and animals, they are interlinked. Animals supply manure, carbon dioxide, plants provide fodder and food for them. So there was an ecosystem there. So a forest without animals, it will not survive. So similarly, in 1960s and 70s, environmentalists demanded a national wildlife protection program has to be done. It has to be formulated. So, number 3, the Indian Wildlife Protection Act, a rule was made and implemented in 1972. In 1972, Forest Wildlife Act was implemented and people were not allowed to kill animals or go and hunt animals just for fun, for sports, or for even for eating or for survival. Not allowed. No more hunting. So after 1972, for protecting various habitats and various species of animals and plants, people are not allowed to go to the forest to cut down trees or hunt animals. So forest and wildlife need to be protected, and a law was made and implemented, put into force in 1970. Before that, the people used to go and hunt, cut down trees and this and that. So there was no rules and regulation for forest and wildlife. But after 1972, there was rule and regulation for forest and wildlife. People were not allowed to go and cut down trees or hunt. In 1973 again, after 1973, Project Tiger was started. Project Tiger, in order to save the population of tiger, because people used to hunt tigers, they were killed for skin, bones, and used to sell in the international market at a huge sum of money. But from 1973, Project Tiger was started, launched, so that tigers could be protected in the forest. They are the beauty of the forest. So it has to be protected. So Project Tiger was launched because their numbers were reduced to save not only endangered species, not only tiger, but in the forest, tiger only doesn't live. There are other animals also. So to save tiger and other endangered species of plants and animals, these various projects have been launched. Project Tiger, Project Rhino, in this way. So many projects were launched. Not only endangered species, but with equal importance as a means of protecting biotypes. Biotype means various type of plants, various type of species of animals and plants needs to be protected. For that, various projects were launched. We have various national parks, bioreserves are maintained by the government. They are there in India in order to protect these wildlife and plants, forest and wildlife. So bioreserves are created, made, various bioreserves. In our next class we will talk about the various names of bioreserves, national parks, and we'll talk about in our next class. That's all for today. So we'll meet in the next class and continue our lesson in geography about forest and wildlife resources, and we'll talk about various national reserves, national biodiversity, national parks. So in this way, what are their importance? National park, people will go there, learn about the habitat, about the how plants and animals they coexist, how many researchers they go there and learn about wildlife. So in this way, for scientific purposes also, and for our future generation, so that they can see the animals live. Otherwise, if it is not protected, naturally the future generation will see them in pictures only, not in the forest or alive. So for various purposes, it has various purposes, aims to protect these wildlife and forest and wildlife. So protection is required for various purposes to maintain our own life, for our own survival. This has to be protected, and for future generation also, for scientific research also, to study about the behavior of the animals. So it has a number of purposes. So we'll talk about that in our next classes, about various national parks, bioreserves, and all these things. So that's all for today. We'll meet in the next class and talk about something more about this. So conservation. That's all for today. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you very much.